COVID-19 has created in us and in our lives great amounts of loneliness. We're cut off from our families, cut off from our friends, and that really is the key. How you combat that I want to focus on today, because you can be proactive in counteracting your loneliness. It's not just you're stuck with it. You can take actions to really counteract it. So loneliness, the major thing is family. People haven't. I've heard so many stories of people being sad they're not seeing their family and they feel cut off. Grandparents who for a year haven't gotten any hugs. The human body needs physical touch to thrive. And we've been cut off from it. If you're lucky like me, I live with my wife and 2 kids, and that's fine. So I'm not totally cut off. Some people live all alone. They're working from home, which, while that sounds nice, in reality, after you've been doing it for a while, it stinks, and I'd rather be at the office myself. So that's really what we're facing, this insane amount of loneliness and being isolated. My sister she lives in the city, and she gets her food delivered, gets everything delivered to her house, which is good. But on the downside, it creates a lot of loneliness. I want you to think of a pain scale in terms of how lonely you are and how lonely you've been. But this has to change. It's not just like a pain scale that's good for you forever or for a month. It's moment by moment, day by day. So how severely lonely are you? If you're up by like 9 or 10, you need to take immediate action. And by immediate action, I mean either reach out to someone that you wouldn't normally, or get involved in therapy, things like that. Because those levels of loneliness are very dangerous, maybe even 8. So think about your loneliness, your pain. Where are you on here? If you're down the 0, 1, 2, 3, great, wonderful. You're managing it great. You might not be there. And you need to manage it. You need to take control of it. Your loneliness is in your hands. Your mental health is in your hands. You can directly affect control over it by things you do. So you know this already, mental pain is much worse than physical pain. If you are in mental pain, there is nothing like that. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about loneliness as a mental pain. It's not addressable necessarily by a doctor. You can take meds, but it has to be addressed, I think, by life change, by your actions, so that you can move forward and not be in pain. It's real. This is a real thing. And you need to not be told by people that this isn't real. If you're at home, working from home, doing everything from home, and you're lonely, you need to take action. This is really the key of what we're looking at. Loneliness is social disconnection. If you're socially disconnected and lonely, that's a problem. And you need to work on that. So everything's better when you bring your friends. And that sure is true. So how do you bring friends? Simple things like reaching out to people. There's some of us who don't like calling people. We feel like we're a bother, we're a pain. We don't like calling them. We need to call people. You need to go to your library through Zoom, reach out to groups that are there. Because this is how you're going to make friends and develop those friendships. So reaching out and reaching out to people who you care about through a phone, through Zoom, is going to be really important. Uh, so, so community. We all participate in different communities. We're firefighters, we're Masons, we're Quakers. You finding a sense of community is going to be the most important thing that you can do. Because if you don't have a sense of community, then you're all alone and then you're lost. So what communities are you in? Ask yourself. Write down a list of all the places that you plug into the community. And if you don't have enough, go find some more. If you have too many, you might need to remove one or two. But you might have to not have enough community and places that you can belong to. One of the places that I belong to is the Quakers. This is a community that I found, like I said, just 4 years ago. It was very welcoming. But they're just one religion, one type of religion compared to Presbyterian, Jewish, Catholic, Muslim. Anything's fine as long as you belong to something. Find some place that you belong, that you can plug in, that you can say, this is mine. Volunteering is very important. You need to volunteer. In my therapy, I tell my clients over and over that they need to volunteer. Find something you're passionate about. There's some group that wants you to volunteer. If you're passionate about animals, volunteer at a pound. If you're passionate about people, volunteer at the hospital. My hospital here runs on volunteers. If volunteers weren't there, it would be shut down. Obviously now with COVID, it's different, but COVID will end and you need to have a plan. If you're passionate about the poor, volunteer in Habitats for Humanity. There's no end to the places you can list that need volunteers. Find one. I would think about going to see a therapist. Therapy is readily available. Call your insurance company and say, what therapist do you have in my area? And they'll send you a list by email and you can interview them and call them up. Don't wait until it becomes drastic. Don't wait until you're sitting and, suicidal thoughts are going through your head. You need to go to therapy before then. Life can be good if you take certain steps. Online education is a really good thing. Having a purpose, a goal that you're working towards is a very useful thing. And online education is cheap. Really cheap. Everybody can afford it. So take a class. When COVID's gone and you can go out, take a class. My wife and I years ago took a class at a school, and it was in building, making like pots and stuff through clay. And it was great fun, and we had a blast, and we still have the pots that we made. So take something, educate yourself. So this is really getting down to the meat of the matter that I think, and I advise all my clients in my therapy, you need to, in your life, notice beauty. I tell my clients you need to store up beauty in your heart against the dark times, because they're going to come, and depression's going to come, and pain will come. But if you have beauty, if you've gotten in the habit of noticing beauty, and when I'm saying beauty, like sit by a window and notice the birds, notice a tree outside, listen to a piece of music, eat something that's really delicious. But in everything, you need to be aware of beauty, aware of what's out there. And you need to store it up in your heart. That's really the key. So you should have a plan of who to call, people to call. I talk to my sister every Friday. I see my friend Terry every Sunday. I talk to my friend Eric via text and phone calls once a week. I talk to my parents once a week. So there's regular contact with the people I love. I either see them or talk to them on the phone. You should set that up. That's really helpful to your mental health. You can be in a very depressed mood or a very dark place, and that's really helpful to your health. Um, have resources ready. Agnes has a sheet that she's been making available that has a whole bunch of resources, mental health resources, um, community groups, things like that. You should reach out to whoever you need. First and foremost on it is 911. If you get to the point where you're thinking of suicide, um, and I have a friend who tried to commit suicide one day, 5 different ways, and each way failed. And he said to me that it was like a dark tunnel, and the only light he could see was death. Once he was in that tunnel, he couldn't get out until these 5 different ways all failed. And then he said, wow, maybe I should live. And he pulled himself out. But in it, it's really hard and it's really dark. So before you get there, go to a therapist. If you're thinking about it, call the police. The police will come to your house. They'll assess how you're doing. And they'll get you treatment. Join a church, join a religious community. If you're not religious, join a social community. The point is you got to get out and make friends. And the last thing is don't be afraid. If I could, I just want to read real quick a poem. This is The Gift by Hafiz. He was a Persian poet. He lived in the 1300s, and they're short, don't worry. And this is called Now is the Time. Now is the time to know that all you do is sacred. Now, why not consider a lasting truce with yourself and God? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong were a child's training wheels to be laid aside when you can finally live with veracity and love. Hafiz is a divine envoy whom the beloved has written a holy message upon. My dear, please tell me, why do you still throw sticks at your heart and God? What is it in that sweet voice inside that incites you to fear? Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. This is the time for you to deeply compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. That's it.